After that unmitigated critical disaster, Kurtzman and Orsi jumped ship and Aaron Kruger became the writer. Surely he was gonna breathe back life into this franchise with the rest of these movies, starting with Dark of the Moon. Now, this is actually a film that most say is better than Revenge of the Fallen and is actually the best one out of the series. While the film is much better than Revenge of the Fallen, it does suffer from being something that you could argue makes it worse than any of the previous movies. It's boring and predictable. Predictable, there you go. At this point, the franchise starts to play it safe and repeats itself blatantly, and you start to recognize that these cards have already been played. You get the intro from Optimus saying, "Hey, we've been here a while," then we see what Sam's up to, then we get a big action scene with the Transformers in the military, then we get the main mission of the movie, which is to grab MacGuffin A from Site X with a super important sounding name. Only difference here now is that the Army and Transformers fight and the scene with Sam are switched. Now Sam is in a relationship with a different lady because Megan Fox got tired of being seen as a piece of meat. I mean, personally, I have no idea what she's talking about, you know? So we get this woman who looks great but can't act to save her life, so it's pretty much business as usual. You have a phone with a front facial camera, just use that. She's the new romantic interest for Sam, but how anyone at this point can find Sam the least bit charming is a mystery. In this film, for some reason they made Shia scream half his lines and be whiny in the others.
Yo, you being a smartass?
Do not hit my car to collector's items!
Oh! We've got an energon read! You moved this dead!
He complains throughout the first 40 minutes about how he wants to work with the Autobots and not hop from job interview to job interview.
I have done shit that matters and I just kinda like a job where I matter again.
Oh yeah, the Autobots were practically begging you to help them save millions in the last film. You say no. They don't need your help at the moment and you start whining. Man, what a hero. What a likable protagonist. When he's not doing that, he's screaming at the top of his lungs and being just an unpleasant person.
Loud noises!
He's really no different than Ken Jeong in this film. Granted, not as bad, but still. Oh yeah, also Ken Jeong is in this. Lots of people say that he's funny, but everything I've ever seen him in has told me otherwise. This development has not changed.
Wang. Deep wang. Deep wang.
Oh, shit! There's some chicken dang nail, bitch!
Anyway, the Autobots and the Army's alliance continue as they stumble onto something that foreshadows something huge coming, so now, like I said, they have to get MacGuffin A from Side X and protect it from the evil forces of the Decepticons. You know how it is. Before I continue, I'd just like to ask, why these military guys constantly use guns to try and kill these Decepticons? Not even like they use it on something as small as, say, the ripoff TX. Instead, they try it on these like huge robots the size of an apartment complex. It's kind of like trying to punch a wall to knock it down. Anyway, in this movie, the MacGuffin is a lost Transformer, another Prime to be more specific, voiced by Leonard Nimoy. And they're really proud of that because there are Star Trek references up the butt here, with lines blatantly ripped off from the franchise.
That the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
I think these guys literally forgot what the difference between an homage and theft is. An homage is what something like Kill Bill did to older martial arts films. Hell, it's what you could call this robot, an homage to Predator. In other words, an homage takes much more than simply quoting a line word for word. God, I got so deep into researching good examples of homages in film that I completely lost interest in talking about this movie. It's just at some point while you're watching it, you just see the similarities and you start to realize this has been done before. You got the action scene, there's gonna be lots of screaming and Sam or the other good guys are gonna be saved by one of the Autobots. Skip the rinsing and just repeat. You've also got the parents that everyone loves, just the most lovable and pleasant couple out there that cut the momentum from intense scenes like this. Just as you think, the film might actually stay on track with this whole intense scene of these Decepticons invading Earth. They then cut to the wacky parents. To give credit though, they're not in this much. In fact, the film pretty much forgets about them by the time the Decepticons start to destroy Earth. For all we know, they perished in an RV accident. Sweet, sweet ambiguity. Then they want to switch it up and fake us out. Basically, all the Autobots get exiled from Earth after Sentinel betrays them, which anyone with 2 digits in their age saw coming from a mile away. They get kicked off to obey Sentinel and the Decepticons' demands, despite the obvious flaw in that thought process being the fact that these humans trust beings with the word Decept in their name. Unsurprisingly, the Autobots get killed by Starscream and the Decepticons start their invasion, with an entire hour left in the movie. Oh yeah, really got us there. We totally believed that with an hour left in a movie as predictable as this, these heroes would perish. Not really, most of us in the audience are just waiting for the end credits. Those who aren't have passed out in their seats from like long ago. I know that because one's drooling on my shirt right now. I guess I should point out some of the things that he does add, but they're pretty small and, upon further inspection, do nothing to affect this movie positively. For one, these Transformers bleed now? What? I have so many questions to ask, including how they plan to ship an entire planet here.
They're not shipping people, they're shipping their planet here.
I don't need to also wonder how Transformer anatomy works. But to give this movie credit, they did at least make this look like a regular movie and not an oversaturated eyesore. That all goes out the window though when you realize what else he added. I'm sure you've never seen this before. A sky beam! God damn it! One other thing that he changed, he made sure that every other climax from here on out is nothing but white noise. And you stop paying attention until one cool shot or moment or line.
Who would you be without me, Prime? Time to find out.
And of course, they all end with Optimus Prime fighting Megatron. Of course, in true fashion, he defeats him in 2 seconds, and then a big speech is made where Optimus Prime values humanity and blah blah blah. However, considering the kind of Optimus Prime we got in this next movie, I think he might have been lying.
Fuck this.
This is one of those movies where the majority of the people who saw it despised it. Now, believe it or not, when I first saw this film, I actually really liked it. Now, before you come at me with your pitchforks, of course my opinions have changed. And, well, before rewatching it for this video, I knew my opinion would. However, maybe this film would be like G.I. Joe Retaliation, or dare I say, Tron Legacy. Maybe I'd be in the minority that actually likes, loves this film. And then I'd be able to give you a different perspective on it than a lot of these other reviewers have not.
So I watched it again, and I have to say, it's definitely not as bad when you compare it to Crucifixion.
Age of Extinction is the worst movie I have ever seen. I cannot clench onto how badly this film came out. I didn't want to agree wholeheartedly with this idea, but it's true. With Age of Ultron, there was no Writers Guild strike that messed with the script. It was just a director and a screenwriter who didn't care less about what they put in their movie. So they gave us the exact same thing, somehow, with a completely new cast and new kind of Transformer. They gave us even more of what we've already grown tired of, except they've made it even worse. The things that you could at least give the other movies credit for are poorly done here. The VFX are so bad in this, especially the green screen effects. Like this is what an actual shot from the movie looked like. It was only 2 seconds long, but you could already notice how fake it looked. Like for context, these are some other films released that exact same year. The score in here sucks too. It's done by the same guy who did the first one, Steve Jablonsky. However, here it just sounds like royalty-free music. There's pretty much like no effort and nothing salvageable here at all. And I blame everything on these 2 meatheads here. I don't want to sound like a broken record here when I talk about how horrendous this film is, especially since everyone's already done it. So I'll try my best to be original in my criticisms. Mark Wahlberg's character in this is exactly what you think his character would be in these films. a down-on-his-luck father who just wants to support his daughter after tragedy strikes. He's an inventor.
I'm an inventor.
Who just wants to make enough money to send his daughter to college and avoid losing everything, including his home. So when he discovers an injured Autobot, he does not do the realistic or smart thing and call in the FBI for the rumored reward, because that would mean he'd be at a moral crossroad, adding some depth and realism to this new character, and we don't want that. We just want to give you the same safe character arc over and over again with little to no change. Or at least now we do. We got complaints from Bay about giving Sam too much personality, so don't worry, we won't make that mistake again. We'll make every character generic and or unlikable. We'll make Mark Wahlberg the white knight that must trust a transformer. Keep it safe or else we create conflict, and that's bad. Then we have his daughter who plays this stuck-up, whiny wench who is pretty much useless in this movie, to be honest. Like, you could at least argue that Michaela helped Bumblebee in the first movie and Carly persuaded Megatron to kill Sentinel in the third one. Here, like, she hooked something onto something else. How amazing. What a legendary performance from... Well, I've seen her face somewhere, I know that. Of course. Then we get her boyfriend in this, who is just a douchebag. And I'm not just saying that because it gives us some good old product placement.
I just got picked up by Red Bull.
Now, the entire movie, he's an arrogant, narcissistic douche nozzle. But then near the end, Marky Mark decides to soften up on him.
Somehow I thought it'd always be enough to protect her, but I won't be. So somebody better be.
And we're gonna take him. You ready? Or are you gonna bitch out on me?
No, I got your back.
Are you ready?
Absolutely. Whoa, okay. I surrender. I surrender. I surrender.
Then we get Stanley Tucci, who's the only other human character that I really wanted to talk about. The rest of these characters are pretty much disposable. Plus, Tucci's character is part of a huge problem with the writing here. He's also a lot like John Turturro's character in that he's this anti-hero who eventually reforms by the end of this film and is played by an actor who somehow got dragged into this. Tucci plays this Elon Musk type of guy who makes all these brand new Transformers for the government. They take no definitive form until you tell them to transform with, your mind, your hand, an app. I have no clue. They don't bother to explain. And these things can transform into anything. Guns, the worst product placement known to man, or some more awful product placement. But the base model that they use keeps coming out looking like Megatron.
I modeled Galvatron after Optimus Prime. Why does he keep looking like Megatron?
Now, this should obviously be seen as a giant red flag to this company because, most likely, if it looks like Megatron, especially when you keep trying to make it look like something else, there's a big chance it's going to be Megatron. However, you're probably thinking, they're not going to answer that question either, will they?
Good news? They do. Bad news? You're not gonna like it.
They show exactly what powers these robots. Megatron's head.
Is that Megatron? Where did you
Are
get
you
this?
kidding me? Oh my god!
Now we know everything.
You know what? No, I stand corrected. If it looks like Megatron, and if its creation is powered by Megatron's brain, it's most likely Megatron. You kill several Autobots, but you choose the one guy that's shown time and time again to be evil. I'm done talking about these human characters. Let's talk about the Autobots. What a shell of what's left of the Autobots. Now, they're vengeful, blood-hungry psychopaths who do nothing but prove the government right in the fear of their kind.
They slaughtered Ratchet. I'm gonna tear them apart.
How dare these humans see us as the bad guys? I'll kill them for that. This thing spent the last 3 movies preaching about how humanity isn't all that bad, or how they'll never give up on humanity. Now it's pretty much
Murder, murder, murder! And kill, kill, kill!
Oh, and not to mention, make everything explode while you do. This is a Michael Bay film boiled down to its essence, except the writing for this is worse than any of his films. Hell, it's worse than any other movie I've ever seen. I can't even call it bad or abysmal, I'd call this thing broken. Most of this, though, is 2 hours and 45 minutes of Michael Bay, the essentials. Protagonist with little to no personality? Check. Female lead that was hired for her looks and is viewed as a piece of meat? Check. Explosions? Put about 20 checks over that. There are more explosions here than there are lines of dialogue. So no, I'm not gonna go over every explosion in here because we'll be here, I'll be discussing them. Like I previously stated, the product placement here has also grown much worse. Now they pretty much stop the movie in its tracks to promote whatever's trending at the moment. Not even the cars they transform into at this point are cool. The only one that was different was Bumblebee, until they changed his design for the sake of a Chevy commercial. However, I'd be willing to overlook all of that. I wouldn't put this movie at the very top of my worst list. Even with all the poor acting, abysmal beyond belief writing, lackluster direction, poor cinematography, and painful product placement. It's at the top because of one thing. The writing. I know, I said this, I already talked about this just now, but holy crap, the writing in here is so appalling. It's so inexcusably bad at trying to be cool.
On this planet we have a saying. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I also have a saying. I don't care.
For as bad as the previous movies were, I at least chuckled in the second one.
That's your car in our bushes?
No, there's a friend of mine. He just went to get you a tighter shirt.
There isn't a tighter shirt. We checked.
And actually laughed at a joke in the third one.
До свидания. That means goodbye.
Not one line here clicks or makes you laugh. And just like the second film, these jokes go as low as you can go. Unlike the second film though, it is so desperate that it goes much lower than racism. It goes into straight up pedophilia. See, here's what Michael Bay does. He makes the female lead in the film 17 years old, despite her being 18 during shooting, but whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, technically. What is wrong is him taking this creepy shot of her in short shorts and hooking her up with a man 3 years older than her so they can stop the movie in its tracks to explain why their relationship is actually legal in the state. All for a joke. He could have easily made the girl 18 at least, but decided to subtract a year. Why? Well, added to the fact that Bay sucks at comedy and is a creep, he doesn't care what he puts in his movies anymore. Racism, sexism, and now pedophilia, they'll still make a truckload of money. That's why, with all that said, I'm not going to be seeing any more of these films in theaters. I'm not going to be conned into seeing one of these poorly made 2.5 hour long advertisements, especially as long as he's the director. The Last Night has been rumored to be Bay's final Transformers film, but Age of Extinction and Dark of the Moon were also supposed to be his final Transformers movies as well. I'm not taking that risk again.
Autobots. We're done.
We're done? But we're not gonna kick a little bit of ass?